You guys probably watched the NCAA championship basketball game last night. Well, a certain Fox host had a little trouble pronouncing what it was she watched.
Well, the UConn Huskies are the 2014 NAACP national champs. NCAA champs, the Huskies celebrating
NAACP, NCAA. Right. But you know what? We've all had problems with teleprompters, am I right?
For the last time, anything you put on that prompter, Burgundy will read.
Shabazz Napier, who won Most Outstanding Player last night. Am I correct? Outstanding, not Most Valuable Player. He had an interesting quote the day before the big game. He said, "I don't feel student athletes should get hundreds of thousands of dollars, but like I said, there are hungry nights that I go to bed and I'm starving." Now this is literally...
Tell that to Francis Chan.
There's a callback, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is literally the player who won Most Outstanding Player last night. The guy scored, I think, 22 points, hit a bunch of big shots. He's obviously in great physical condition, and some nights goes to bed starving. Hard to believe. John, you went to UConn, so I will defer to you on their meal plans.
As I've mentioned in other videos, I was not starving while I was at UConn. In fact, I gained much more than the freshman 15 while I was there. A lot can happen in the years from when I was there until now. But I mean, I remember frequently seeing basketball players cutting the line ahead of me to get food. They were always there. They lived in the best dorm complex, which had the best dining hall. And we had meal plans where you could swipe through and just eat as much as you want. Now, they point out that there is a time that they close, and some athletes at the university might not be able to eat during that time, and so then food isn't available. But there were other places on campus, like sandwich shops and things like that, that you could go later in the night to get food from. So I don't know exactly what his situation is. Everybody's saying that they have meal plans, but it seems like it would be unlikely for him to lie about it when it's so easily, so it would be so easy to disprove. So there might in fact be something to it.
Right, so it appears that the meal plans, at least the ones on campus, go from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7:15 p.m. So yeah, you could be hungry by midnight. I just feel like a student athlete, and sometimes, like I said, there's hungry nights and I'm not able to eat and I still gotta play up to my capabilities. When you see your jersey getting sold, it may not have your last name on it, but when you see your jersey getting sold and things like that, you feel like you just want something in return. Now, we've been hearing a ton about this the last couple of weeks because of March Madness. Do you guys all fall on that? I have a feeling that you do. The idea that the players should get paid something or some stipend.
They need a fix. Something's broken. I don't know how massively broken it is. I don't know that unionization is the right way for them to start with it. But there has to be some sort of a stipend.
I mean, they're treated as employees, essentially. Yeah, they are behaving as employees to all intents and purposes. So.
Right. Yes, they are, but they're also being given an education, and I mean there is the counter argument that is valid.
But they bring in billions,
and they bring in billions and millions, but so too does a med student who brings in notoriety. I'm not it's apples and oranges.
So they also don't get the education end of it.
But exactly.
In many respects.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I think it's clearly something that needs to be attended to, and they should start with a stipend. I think they should start small, because those sorts of things can then get out of control and out of hand. And they have to be able to do it in a way that they can control it, or else college athletics, as they have already, get way out of hand. And all the violations that happen during recruiting will be multiplied because of money. Too.
If you have official ways to give them money or gifts or something, I mean, it happens now with strict controls. If they had any route to do it, then I think it would almost necessarily get abused very quickly. And look, I feel worse for, it's easy to look at someone who just won the national championship, and many of them are full scholarship, some including stipends at various programs. I feel more for, the athletes who go to school and don't get a full scholarship. They don't get the stipend. They're NCAA competitors perhaps, but they're not there getting $40,000 a year. And so I worry much more about them. But I've stated often on the program that I have a problem with how massive this has become. It has nothing to do with college anymore. There's no reason it's not just a minor league sport, completely disconnected from education. It has nothing to do with scholarship. And so I think that if we're going to fix it, let's go much farther and disconnect it entirely from the university system.
I totally agree. And I think it's an outrage and a complete sham that they don't get paid. Because if you if you just look at this from the perspective of any other institution where you say, okay, I'm going to take the best and the brightest. Let's say Nike did this. They take the best and brightest high school students. We say, we let you work here for 4 years for free. We won't pay you anything, but here's a catch. You don't have to pay us. And you get this valuable education working at Nike. And when you're done here, then you can make a lot of money elsewhere. That would be a joke, and no one would go for that.
It's a pretty shitty internship. But
these students, can you imagine Shabazz Napier saying, sorry, I really need to stay home and study for my chemistry exam, so I can't go to practice today, coach?
Yeah. Right.
What would happen to him, right?
That would not be allowed.
That would not be allowed.
Well, he would end it by laughing.
I can't attend this March Madness because I need to focus on my studies. That would not be allowed.
Yeah.
So let's just drop the sham that they're student athletes. They are there to make a ton of money for the schools, and they do make a ton of money for the schools, and they don't get to partake in that. So that's total and utter bullshit.
But it's not so easy because there's so many Division I, Division II, and Division III schools. Does a student get more money for going to a Division I school in a better conference, or is another student punished for only being able to go to Division III school?
If his jersey sells really well, does he make more money?
So,
obviously
does Michael Jordan make more money than I don't know, Michael Williams? Yeah.
But he's as a professional he did.
Well, so maybe
as a
these
student he shouldn't
are
have.
professionals.
But they're not professionals. They're not professionals because most of them are unspectacular. Most of them are not having their jerseys sold. Most of them are not going to make it to the NBA. So there is a difference. There's clearly a huge problem. Clearly, I think that athletes should get some sort of money. But
the way that you solve it, maybe we're not going to obviously come up with the perfect program today to try to figure out how to solve these problems. Clearly, they're being exploited, and clearly there would be some discrepancy in which specific athlete gets what in response for the employment that they are essentially, like I said, they're de facto employees. It would seem to me, But what I thought was interesting, and I just want to throw this out, is Trayvon Free, a Daily Show writer and a comedian. He had a great tweet when he said the MVP award for the NCAA. The MVP award is called Most Outstanding Player in the NCAA Championship because the NCAA can't ever legally admit that athletes are valuable.